This is the Jack Murphy Podcast. Here's your host, Jack Murphy.
I didn't know there was such an app, but I have a. So you have an app that unlocks your car, right?
I'm surprised you're just now hearing about your car doesn't have an app.
John, I drive an ancient automobile. My car, and I'm very proud of this fact, I drive a 2008 Mercedes ML350 with 200,000 miles on it.
That's a beautiful thing.
And it's still running fine. I spend a little money on it. I change the oil, and it just keeps on going. And I'm going to go until one day they tell me, you know, it almost happened the last time I took it in. I had some electrical issues, but I went ahead and dropped the money because the car at this point is only worth maybe $2,000 if I was going to trade it in or something. But it keeps going, and I don't have a car payment, and the insurance is dirt cheap. But anyway, you've got an app, a fancy app for your car.
Yeah, well, it's a Ford.
I thought you were going to say Ferrari or something for an app. Ford has an app for the car?
It's actually a 2019 Ford, and when I got it, they said It has the app. And I'm like, I don't want the stupid app. I don't care about the dumb app. Well,
what does the app do?
It tells you what your tire pressure is, how many miles till your oil needs to be changed, and that kind of stuff. You can also start it. You can set it to start. You can say, hey, I'm going to be...
So if it's really cold outside, you could start it, get the heater going, really hot, get the air going.
Exactly. And you can lock and unlock it.
So it's really just an app for extremely lazy people.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I love it so much. So
but I don't understand. So you said while you're walking, you keep locking and unlocking it?
I can just carry my phone with me and go walk some laps around the track. And then like every 3 or 4 laps, I can stop by my car, get a drink of water. That way I don't got to carry keys and, you know. So normally I just click the little unlock button, and within 20 seconds or so, I can walk up to my car and it unlocks.
Right.
Well, this stupid app this morning, it wouldn't do it. I guess it wasn't working. And I found myself just yelling at 4 a.m. at the track going, you stupid fucking app piece of shit. And then I realized here I am yelling at my phone for not unlocking my car.
But John, I'm more concerned, that language is definitely going to get you left behind. When the time comes, they're going to say, does John get to go? And they're going to say, no, he has a potty mouth. Leave him behind. He curses a lot, uses the Lord's name in vain. You're going to get left behind.
Well, I can't understand why the good Lord would make a Ford app and then not make it work when I need it most.
Yeah, I don't have one, so I don't have. My problem is just finding my keys, which is another whole deal when you get old. I can't ever find them. I put them in the same place, but they're never there.
So am I a jerk for getting mad at my app this morning? Am I an impatient little bee?
No, I think if you get mad at, inanimate objects as opposed to people, you're not going to hurt the little device's feelings as you would a human being. So, no, I think that's fine. Probably gets your overall... You're an angry person anyway.
I'm not an angry person. I just want the phone to start my car when I want it to.
I think we all know by now you're bitter and you're angry. We've seen your reaction to your dogs, the way you talk to your dogs, curse your dogs, and yell at them.
Hang on. Suddenly, this podcast, I don't know if it's such a good idea.
No, I'm just making an observation, that's all.
Oh, is that all you're doing is just making an observation?
I've had a very busy morning. Don't start on me. I had to go over to
Don't start on you. Okay, I'm sorry. Please accept my apologies.
My daughter and my son-in-law have moved to a new house, and the old house, they're trying to get ready, and they had one of those Nest, speaking of technology, they had one of those Nest thermostats where you can go on your phone and turn your thermostat up or down or whatever. Now they're putting the old Honeywell ones back in. And so one of them.
So they have an app where they can turn the thermostat on and off in their house?
Yeah, exactly. It's called Nest, and it's not expensive, but you put it on there and say, if you're on vacation, you can check the temperature in your house and turn the thermostat up so the air doesn't run. You get about an hour away from your house. You turn the air back down. Your house is cool when you get there.
Do they ever get mad if it doesn't work? Do they throw a fit like I do?
No, but I threw a fit over there this morning trying to hook up the old thermostat. There's like 19 wires, and they don't tell you which ones go where. I failed completely at it.
So they're moving, and they're going to take their thermostat with them.
Well, yeah, they paid a bunch of money for the Nest thermostat, so they're going to leave the old manual Honeywell ones there and take the other ones to their new house.
Gosh, I love technology.
I am very happy to report this morning, ladies and gentlemen, a miracle which happened. And maybe, just maybe, John will get on board and he won't get left behind after he hears this story.
I think we're way past that point.
Our good friend, John Carter, his lady, Jean Bean, we call her, she has a good friend who lives in Israel.
Let's explain who John Carter is.
He's just a friend of ours that we worked with, and he helps us out with some technical stuff. Just a good friend.
He's the guy that says, "Welcome to the Jack Murphy Podcast."
Yes, he's the voice of the podcast, the intro and the outro. But Jean Bean's friend lives in Israel, and of course that's very traumatic right now with all the missiles falling and the bombs falling. And she was pregnant and about to have a baby, and she was in
Is it John's?
No, it's Jean Bean's friend who's married and lives in Israel.
Jean Bean's friend.
Yeah, so anyway, she goes into the hospital, has the baby. It's a effortless birth, apparently. Went really, really well. And they said, hey, you're doing so good, we're going to let you go home early. She went home early. Guess what? It was the hospital that missile hit last night and killed all those people in Israel. And she was not there. She had just left the day before. She could have been there and lost her life and the baby's life.
We cover a lot of close calls on the podcast. Yesterday we talked about the guy from the India plane crash. Mm-hmm. And today John's friend's cousin over there in Israel.
Jean Bean's friend who lives in Israel.
Yeah, and that reminds me a few years ago, you remember when the condo fell in Miami?
Oh, yeah.
There were a couple of stories about people who, one guy had just pulled out and went to go to work and those kind of stories. And you think,
if you were in the building, you died. And that, by the way, has had a ripple effect on the real estate market in Florida. I don't know if you know about this.
Yeah.
I have friends that have property down there. And the HO, imagine this. You have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo on the ocean. The building was built 30 years ago. Building looks great. It's got a great pool. The beach is great. Suddenly, your HOA fee is $2,200 a month.
Yeah, I saw stories of old couples who retired down there and have lived there since the 90s, and they spent spent $100,000 on a high rise, and now they got to spend $300,000, or they're going to be kicked out of their house.
Here's what's going to happen to a lot of those buildings. They're not going to be able to pay. Everybody's going to move out. The HOA is going to fold, and the building will go into receivership. Somebody will buy it. They'll bulldoze it and build a brand new, big, beautiful building back. But
I think that's what this is all about anyway. They saw an in where they can go in and screw people over.
No, this was done out of safety. That building that collapsed in Miami, they knew it was going to collapse. They had been doing piecemeal work on it. The HOA is supposed to do a few things. They're supposed to have a big pool of money to have repairs done on the building. They're supposed to have engineers come in and evaluate the condition of the building to see if there's any problem. This building had a ton of problems. Everybody knew about them, and they did nothing about it.
Well, that shouldn't mean that every condo in Florida has to pay, though. But now they're getting these jacked up quotes on how much they need to do to fix it and all that.
Well, what has to happen is I think the way the law is, it's every 20 years you have to have a certified engineering inspection. And it costs a lot because these engineers come in and they take samples of all the supports and the steel and everything to make sure the building is solid. And you have to pay for that. And then, of course, if there are problems, you got to fix them.
Another thing is when they update the codes every few years, basically every condo is out of code unless it was built in the last 10 years. So even if it's still technically fine and we all know it is, they still have to bring it up to code.
Exactly. Well, I saw a picture this morning that kind of blew my mind. Do you know who Billy Porter is?
Billy Porter. The name. Give me a clue because I know the name.
I didn't know the name, but I know his character. He plays on that, what was that show, The Hunger Games. He was an actor from the black guy from The Hunger Games. His name Billy Porter.
I knew he was a black guy.
And he, right now, is staging a gay and Black Lives Matter play written by Harrison David Rivers.
That's about time somebody did.
Yeah, and he's calling America a racist country that he claims is just like Nazi Germany. Take a look at the picture of this guy. Wow. I mean, I don't even know what to say after looking at that picture.
I can't wait to see the play. I'm going to book my trip to New York City now.
I mean, if I ran into him on the street, I would just go, just passing by, sir. or ma'am, whichever you prefer. He just looks scary.
Well, I think he looks perfectly normal.
He wrote a play called This Bitter Earth in 2015 at the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, which has now been proved to have been a big fraud, where the people who put it together stole all the money.
Billions.
Stole billions of dollars and built them all a bunch of fancy mansions and stole all the money and accomplished absolutely zero.
Well, they happen to run a lot of businesses out of Minneapolis, so they did accomplish that.
He told Pink News, which I've never heard of. Have you ever heard of Pink News?
I've got a subscription to it.
I'm guessing it's a gay publication. He told them that America's just like a Nazi country today.
Boy, that's the first time I've heard that comparison.
I know. If these people who keep spouting that we're a Nazi country or that we're fascist, if they ever were in a really fascist country or Nazi country, they would beg to come back to America.
Trust me, Billy Porter is safer in America than he would be in Nazi Germany circa, say, 1938-ish.
Or Gaza, or Iran, or any
anywhere.
Of those countries.
Yeah, and there's really nowhere Billy Porter would rather be. He might say other countries. Look at Rosie O'Donnell. She complained, too. She's on her way back. She missed it.
So are Ellen DeGeneres and Portia.
Yeah, they all
they're
go.
having a hard time adjusting to life over in England.
Yeah, and they got to come back. So it must be really tough over there.
So yesterday, this guy in Texas, he had to do a court appearance, right? And I guess he didn't have a lawyer. He was going to it wasn't a major charge or anything, but he showed up wearing, and I've got a picture of this. I'll insert this picture.
I saw this guy. I know where you're going with this.
He wore a shirt to court that said, it was a serious thing. It was a felony court appearance. He wore a T-shirt that said "World's Best Farter," and the judge wasn't having it. Sonny Morris is the guy. Judge Rachel West last week said, "What made you think it would be a good idea to appear in my courtroom wearing a shirt that says World's Best Farter?"
Let me tell you, these judges don't play. Many years ago, I was involved in a court case.
Really? What'd you do?
Well, one of my better halves.
Oh, it's a marital thing.
Got embroiled in a situation where my life was targeted.
You're kidding.
No.
So an ex of your wife was going to kill you.
No. Yes, an ex of my ex-wife at this point.
Right.
So they caught the guy.
Uh-huh.
And I had to show up to court. Now
what kind of threat did he make? With bodily harm? You have a gun, knife?
Oh, it was the unalive. He was going to unalive me.
He was going to kill you.
Yeah.
Was he still in love with her?
Yeah, but he's not anymore, and we'll get to that part of the story a little bit later on.
He didn't know what a bitch she was yet.
He knew, but he was listening to her tell him all kind of stories about me.
Okay.
So we're in court, right? And I have to go testify. I have to go sit on the stand. And I had a nice shirt on. It was a button down.
It's always scary to do that.
Very scary. And I felt like I should be fine. I'm the victim here, right? Well, I stepped up to the stand, and I had a nice shirt on. It was ironed, but it was a button down, and it was untucked, but I had a pair of boots on and jeans. I looked presentable.
Right.
And the judge made me tuck my shirt in before I sat down.
It's their court. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, they really care about your appearance in court.
Well, what was the outcome of the case?
He did about 6 months.
Ooh.
But you know what?
I bet he really hated you when he got out.
Well, there was it's been like 15 years now, but he and I are buds.
Shut up.
We're friends. In fact, he fixes my car. He's my mechanic now.
And so, maybe that's why your Ford app's not working. He's getting back at you, and you don't know it.
No, he don't work on apps. He ain't that smart.
When you say buds, basically all you do is, in common, you talk about the ex, I'm sure.
Well, for a couple of years, when I would see him, that would always come up.
Right.
And then at one point, he always felt the need. He was very, what's the word? He was very apologetic over the years.
Okay.
And whenever we'd go somewhere, he'd say, yeah, I did some jail time for trying to kill him. And we laughed about it a few times. And then one day I said to him, I said, you know what, brother, that chick is out of our lives. We know that she was behind all of this. If you and I would have just had a 30-second conversation, I would have saved thousands of dollars and you would have never gone to jail. Let's just forget that ever happened. And so we hadn't even talked about it in years. And I see him a couple of times a month. We'll go get something to eat. He's a great guy.
You know, isn't that funny? Guys are always like that. I remember I've had very few actual physical fights in my life because I'm obviously very intimidating.
You would lose.
When people see me, I'm very intimidating. Actually,
you're a fast runner. That's why you never get in fights.
Actually, when I was a kid and I got in fights, I always win because I would take them to the ground and I would get on top of them.
Yeah.
And they couldn't move.
That was your secret weapon.
It was. I would grab them, slam them to the ground, get on top. I never had that killer instinct where I could hit somebody in the face. Like once I had them down, I couldn't hit them in the face. But every time I ever got into a fight in my life, I wound up being best friends with the person I had to fight with, or at least became friends afterwards.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. And this guy, he really got the raw deal. Imagine if you were a young father and you came home one day and your wife was gone with the baby and you didn't know where she was. Now, I didn't know that that's how she did this. I thought she was just, and she was feeding him a lot of stuff. So if your baby mom was saying, John is beating us up and John is abusing me, what would you do if you were a dumbass 25-year-old?
I would probably threaten to go kill you.
Right. So we talked about that.
Even worse, he might have actually killed you.
Yeah, that was a possibility. I actually heard the recording of him talking to the undercover agent. There was an undercover agent involved?
They
had to kind of run a sting. Not an undercover agent. You know what I'm talking about? It wasn't like a big sting, but they actually had to set him up, and they had him recorded. And he said,
"Wow, this is a big case."
Yeah, he said, "This is what time John goes to the gym. This is the route he takes."
What was he hiring a third party to do?
Yes. Yeah, he's hiring a third party.
Now, did the hitman go to jail?
The hitman, I think, had a history with the sheriff, and the sheriff said, "Look, I'll make you a deal. We got a situation."
Okay, I got you.
So I don't know the extent of it. I think there was some fancy police footwork done that I don't want to know because it saved my life. You know what I'm saying?
That is amazing.
So he said, John goes to the gym here, gets there at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I want 2 in his head and put a bag of snow in his hand to make it look like a drug deal gone bad.
Wow.
He had it all mapped out.
He turns on the porch lights at 2:45 in the afternoon. He goes to
get
bed
him
at 5. You can kill him before dark, and nobody will know about it until the next day.
You'll be home in time for supper, and he'll be gone.
Exactly.
But it all worked out in the end, and I don't know how we got off on this rabbit hole, but
that's crazy. That's a good story. I never heard that story before.
Yeah,
that was almost as good as you going to the bathroom and taking a poop with your wife sitting on the bathtub. Yeah,
well, sometimes people have closer relationships than others.
You know, this morning I'm dog sitting for a friend, and so this morning I had 3 dogs. And this dog that I'm babysitting, this dog doesn't ever get any exercise. It's some kind of labradoodle thing, whatever. But she's terribly out of shape. And so I took her to the woods with me and my dogs this morning to do our 5 miles. And I swear, every mile we had to stop and let her catch her breath. She's so out of shape. It was ridiculous. But I'm going to tell you what, it's going to be so hot today, it's going to be stupid. It was this morning at like 6:30, it was like 84 degrees in the woods. And the forecast here for today, 94, but it could be worse. I went online and I looked because one of my dear friends, Frank Ford, he's passed away now, but he lived in Phoenix, Arizona. And I would always call Frank in the summertime. I'd say, what's the temperature today? 109.
Yeah.
Today in Phoenix, it's predicted to be 114 degrees.
That's like summertime numbers.
114 degrees. Let me tell you something that happened to me. So when I lived in Ramona is in East County, San Diego, and I lived up at about 2,500 feet above sea level, John. And it's a desert. You know, there's very little rain. And
it's not like Malibu where there's all green hills?
No. It's dry, fire danger, scrub brush, rattlesnakes everywhere. But it's a gorgeous place. The weather's, great all the time. But in the summer, actually, it gets the hottest in the fall. But for some reason, I was home alone, and we had a well. And the well quit working on the hottest day of the year. It was 109 degrees.
You got your water from a well?
Yeah, got our water from the well. We had a big 10,000-gallon tank that it filled up all the time. But the well quit working, and I'm out there and I'm just burning up. And
do you know anything about well fixing, or were you just out there hoping?
I had gotten a few advice. I'll tell you what happened was a bunch of ants got in there and got in between there's almost like the points of a car, but there were ants in there keeping these two pieces of metal from touching. I blew it out, and the well started working. But we had gotten a power bill when we were running the air conditioner. This is how high the electricity rates are. We got a $1,300 power bill.
Was this the last time you lived in San Diego or back in the 80s?
Most recently. So we made a decision that the air conditioning was not that we're going to button up the house, with the curtains, shut everything up, and the air would only come on when it got above 85 in the house, which we did. But anyway, it's 109 degrees. The well's broken, so there's no water in the toilets or anything, and I'm home alone. So I go out in the yard to pee. I go out because, I had a 5-acre lot. There's nobody running. And I swear this is a true story. This is how hot and dry it was. So I'm out in the yard peeing, John, and a hummingbird lands where I'm peeing and starts drinking it.
That poor hummingbird.
He had no water. He was dying or whatever. So I went in the house, got some water, and brought it out because he was just collapsed on the ground. And
That's
he
the
started
saddest
drinking.
hummingbird ever.
Can you imagine that? How freaky that
No,
was
and I don't
to me?
want to.
I'm sitting there peeing, and this hummingbird, and I'm afraid he's going to attack my unit. And he just wanted.
Probably think it's lunch.
He just wanted some moisture.
Wow, that is a sad story.
I know, and I tell people the story. A lot of people don't believe it, but it is a true story. Absolutely true story.
A very touching story too.
But yeah, it was 109.
This has been a very special episode of the Jack Murphy Podcast.
Very touching. Revealed a lot of personal information here.
You certainly revealed a lot in front of that hummingbird.
But it was 109 degrees that day. And, it was a dry heat, but it doesn't matter when it's that hot.
Yeah. What do you keep your AC on now? I see people.
68.
68. See, you're a spoiled brat. You're a little brat. What about people who lived 100 years ago? They didn't even know what AC was.
Not my fault. I'm lucky. I live in the present times, and I live in a place where there is an abundance of electric power generating going on. Lake Wiley, which is about a mile from my house, has both a nuclear and a coal burning plant on it. And then right up the road on Lake Norman, there's a nuclear plant and 2 coal burning plants as well. So we have an abundance of cheap power. I mean,
your last house didn't have water. This new house has nuclear plants all around.
Yeah, man, I got nuclear power. So I keep it on 68. I'm going to be comfortable.
The lowest I go is during the day about 76 if I want to, kind of be pushing it, because I feel like I don't need to be running it that low. 68 is too low. It's too cold.
Oh, no, it's perfect. So
I just get mad when I see people say, I can't let my AC go above 68. I'm like, get over it, you little girl.
Well,
why does that make me mad?
I don't know. Because you're an angry, mad person.
I'm not angry.
You're hard to get
I just
along
don't
with.
think
You're
people
mad.
need to run their AC that cold.
You're grouchy, grumpy.
Not at all.
So I had to call. I didn't call. I sent a message this morning to a good friend of mine. You probably know John Williard. He's one of America's premier voiceover talents.
Oh, yeah, I know John.
You know, if you've ever listened to country radio, you've heard his voice before. But he's on vacation in Hilton Head right now, and they had a shark attack in Hilton Head yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that. Listen, I don't go in the water. I don't run in the jungle. You won't see me in East St. Louis at 2 a.m. blasting Leonard Skinner music out of my truck. There's just certain things I won't do, and get in the ocean ever again is one of them.
Now, I do go in the ocean, but I don't like to go out there very far. I like to be, waist deep, and I keep my wits about me.
I don't even go waist deep. I have been to the beach a few times in the last few years and didn't even touch the water.
It says here it was an unprovoked attack. I mean, what would you do to provoke an attack? Be waving raw fish around in the water or something?
Insult the shark.
But
I loved you in Jaws: The Revenge.
I've done a lot of deep sea fishing in my life, both on the West Coast and the East Coast, and I have seen sharks and what they can do. I'll never forget the first time I went deep sea fishing off the coast of North Carolina out into the Gulf Stream, which, if you're at the Outer Banks, that's really close. It's like a 10-minute boat ride out there. And it was in the fall, and there was a giant tuna bite on. Everybody was catching big yellowfin tuna. And every time we'd catch one, John, I'm talking about 60, 80-pound tuna, all we got was the lips. Yep. I mean, it would just be one chomp, and you just get the head, and you can say, gosh, that shark.
And they say you can, because of the ubiquitous cell phone, we are actually recording more shark attacks, obviously, than ever before. And we see that they're happening a lot more than people want to let on. Did you see about 3 years ago, there was some kids on a senior trip out in the Bahamas, and they had a dinner cruise, and they were parked in the bay there right by the Sands Hotel. This kid named Cameron Robbins, they were out of Baton Rouge. And this kid named Cameron Robbins, I guess he was drinking.
You got a lot of detail on this story. I'm impressed. Go ahead.
There was a bunch of 18-year-olds. They just graduated, and this is in 2023. He jumps off this little dinner cruise ship, and there's only one grainy cell phone video of it because obviously every kid was filming it, and they, I don't know what they did with it. I guess out of respect for their friend. These sharks converged on this poor kid within 4 or 5 seconds, and he was down in the water. And you can look him up. There's a guy named Simon Nellist who was swimming off in Australia, and there's like a video camera of him. And there's one guy who was swimming in Egypt. I wasn't even aware that Egypt had an ocean over there. I always thought it was
the Red Sea.
This guy's swimming right by a restaurant on the bay where they're always throwing food out. This shark takes his arms off, and he's bobbing out there in the water, and then this shark takes him down right there on somebody's cell phone camera. So I don't get in the ocean.
You ever seen that movie with Dennis Quaid about that girl in Hawaii? She was a semi-pro surfer.
The 13-year-old girl?
Yeah, one day they were surfing, and a tiger shark bit her arm off.
Yeah.
She's like a motivational speaker now and is surfing again.
There is no way you would ever catch me surfing. That the sharks love the surf because, you look like a seal.
I have to tell you this. In San Diego, the Scripps Institute of Oceanography is in La Jolla. And in the 80s when I lived there, they discovered that there was a stretch of beach that was a great white nursery, basically. And the reason it was, they have a giant squid fishery there at certain times of the year. So these guys come in with these boats and they net squid, which they keep alive and they sell for bait to fishermen, right? Well, these great white sharks, they knew from tagging them, were coming down from Northern California to this spot to have their little baby great white sharks. Now, a baby great white shark, it's 3 feet long when it's born. But they were doing it because there was a plentiful food supply for them right there after they were born. But I've been on these...
Most great white sharks, when they have a litter of pups, they only have one because they may have 6 or 7 embryo sharks in there, but the strongest one will eat the other sharks, and then he's the only one that's born.
But what I was going to say, I saw some pretty incredible things while offshore fishing on the West Coast, and one of them was some really big great white sharks. And once you see one, you just go, I don't ever want to get in that ocean again.
I don't do it. And when I was a kid, we would swim all the way out to the sandbar and catch the waves.
Oh,
But
yeah.
now there's no way. And the same body of water down in the Bahamas, right by the Sands Hotel. Is it the Sands Hotel that I'm thinking of? Sandals. He jumped in the water, the same water that me and my wife scuba dived in many years ago on a cruise down there, and they didn't tell us. You just think, oh, this is the shallow part of the water. Nothing's going to get you here, but I could have been eaten up too.
You know, I've been certified for a long, long time as a scuba diver, and I've probably done about, 20 dives in my life. And I only saw sharks one time, and they told us they were going to be there. They were black-tip reef sharks, and they were harmless. And they didn't bother us, but that's the only time I ever saw sharks while I was diving.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. My days of getting in the water are long gone.
I love the scuba diving, but I'm too old to do it now. It's not good for your body, but anyway. So the big question today, John, Trump has been beating around the bush for the last 48 hours about dropping these bunker busters in Iran on the last big nuclear site. What do you think's going to happen?
There's no way around it. He's going to have to do it, and he's going to have to take the hit. And even though he can only be in office 4 more years, whatever, he doesn't like to go back on his promise, but he's going to have to eat this one.
Well, I don't, it's not, he says he doesn't want to start another war, but if he does it, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to start a war. What is Iran going to do? They're going to put together a ground force and try to come after us? They can't.
Well, Trump doesn't want to get involved. He wants trade. He wants people to be making deals. He doesn't want to go to war.
But this morning I saw this, 79% of the American people in a new poll say they believe Iran is a threat to our safety and they should not get a nuclear weapon. I think that's what will allow him to do it and get away with it. And I personally hope he does it, and I hope it's sooner rather than later.
He's going to have to.
And I hope tomorrow when we come back here on the Jack Murphy Show, we can report that has happened. Listen, we're getting close to that 150 subscriptions. You got to like it. You got to subscribe. You got to ring that bell. Remember,
aren't we also available on other platforms now, too?
Listen, we're everywhere now. I'm glad you brought that up. We're on the Podbean.
The what now?
I love that. It's a site called Podbean. It's just for audio. We're on there.
The next big thing.
But we're now on Apple Podcasts, and we're on iHeart Radio Podcasts, and we're on YouTube, and we're on Spotify. So we're everywhere. We're worldwide. We're everywhere.
And look, we're not trying to set the world on fire. We're just a couple of guys discussing daily events and
Just having some fun.
The occasional shark attack and attempt on our lives.
Just having a little bit of fun. So help us get to 150 subscribers. Hit the button, like, and subscribe, and have a great day.
Thanks for watching the Jack Murphy Podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Go ahead, ring it. Get alerts when a new episode drops. And tell your friends about the Jack Murphy Podcast. But only the cool friends, please. Tune in next time for another episode of the Jack Murphy Podcast.